Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hot Stove with your hosts, Scott Simpson and Jamie Calandro, with special guest Mike Reedy from the Undroppables. Well, welcome everybody. This is the Fantasy Football Hot Stove. I am Scott Simpson, proud to be joined by my co-host, fellow teacher, partner in summer crime, Jamie Calandro. How are you doing, brother?
Doing well. I'm glad we got to this. Had some scheduling issues this past couple of weeks, but I'm glad we're getting back in to chop it up, and excited to talk DFS with you today, and excited to have our guest on as well.
Oh man, yeah, DFS is something we all love here in this space here on the podcast. We have a DFS guru below us and Mr. Mike Reedy. Anybody who beats me, by the way, a little bit of a guru nowadays. So we'll talk about that.
You remember?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to ask you some questions about that. But I'm super excited to have on Mike Reedy from the Undroppables. I mentioned him in the intro. A silver fox of the fantasy community.
Well,
is that?
That is what I've heard.
Yes, yeah. Well, we're gonna christen you. You are the silver fox of our show. You are, the best looking so far. Don't tell Denny Carter we said that.
He has better hair than I do.
Yeah, or Field Yates. Don't tell Field Yates either. Now, welcome, brother. So glad you're with us.
Good to be back. Good to be back on a show with you, Scott. Mike Reedy FF. You guys can find me on the Undroppables all season long. I actually do the Untangling the Wire is one of mine. It is literally the best waiver wire article you'll find. I'm usually 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ahead of everybody else on who you should get and why. And then the thing I'm mostly known for, Moneymakers and Heartbreakers. It's really it's DFS and sit start related, and every once in a while I'll take some heat because I'm telling somebody to sit someone in DFS like Aaron Rodgers when the rest of the community is like, no, you can't sit Aaron Rodgers, and it's like, sit him this week. Trust me, go play somebody else. But as you mentioned, I have beaten you head to head, and typically if I play in an industry tournament, I do pretty well. I think I've won money every single time. Not to brag, but every single time I do it. So, I'm pretty happy about that.
That's a great non-brag every single time. Oh, man. No, and you did beat me last year in our show. You came on the DFS Money Shot, and we'll talk about that in our hot seat in just a second. But do yourself a favor right now, wherever you're listening. If you're not following Mike, go follow him on social media at Mike Reedy FF on Twitter. He's also working for the Undroppables. Follow the Undroppables. He is an FSWA writer. I love it. And all that stuff that you kind of touched on, we'll kind of dip back into it later today in the show and talk about what's coming up for you this year and kind of how you're processing fantasy football and DFS. Because Jamie, man, we're DFS just dogs, So, but let's jump in. We're going to start with a little segment here we call the hot stove. It's brought to you by Hotbox Batch. This is my man Bo McBig Time's hot sauce. It is the best hot sauce in the world. Let me tell you how good it is. I have saved the initial offerings of 3 orders that I have, about 10, 12. I have one from each order because I'm going to bust them out one time. We're going to have a sampling party with all these. I love them. Please go bigtimeflavorcode.com, hotboxbatch.com. Go order some of these. Get yourself a bundle. So we're going to jump in to 2 truths and a lie. I'm going to ask you real quick, Jamie. Jamie, do you play this with your students ever? Have you done this in a faculty meeting? This is a teacher-driven activity that I picked up along the way. So I assumed you had as well. Oh, yeah. All of the above. Faculty meeting, this is like the thing. And I always wind up being the one to start it off because I always have 3 good ones to present. So, and then, with the students, of course. So, yeah, hit it. Okay, well, I'm really excited. So, Mike, we're going to have you give us 2 truths about yourself and 1 lie about yourself. And then Jamie and I are going to have to kind of debate back and forth and kind of come up with what we think is the lie. And then if we get it right, we're awesome. And if not, you kind of pull the wool out from under us and you can kind of dazzle us with your truth. So the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. When I was a kid in the 80s, I was essentially a well-renowned breakdancer in the city of Boston.
Ooh, that sounds very plausible.
I'm intrigued for the next two.
When in my 20s, as you know, I was also a teacher. I worked the front door at a very large nightclub.
Any celebrities that you ever saw at that nightclub?
Oh, all the time.
Where did you say that was?
Where
in Boston.
Okay.
In Boston.
You just don't hear any Boston accent with me. I did have a vicious one at one time.
Wicked smart, I bet.
You're a wicked pisser. You are. That's what you are.
You are.
See, I don't know if he's trying to like sell this as the truth by just I have a Boston accent. So I did.
Right. Well, I don't know. But I like two truths. It seems to me so far. I can't.
I've been to every single state on the continental United States.
That's a really good one too.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though.
Remember, I travel with work before you start doubting me.
Yeah, I know. Before we start done, I think they all could be true. Every state is hard to do though. Like that takes a lot of a yeoman's effort for sure. In some states, like Alabama, I don't know. How like stay there,
Like, why would you go to Idaho? What's
to ski?
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Okay. All right. Mike's putting the wall. All right. I'm gonna say.
To tell you, I have been to Idaho for that reason.
Sun Valley, right? Sun Valley's in Idaho. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. It was a silly example.
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say not a world-renowned break dancer. I've never heard.
I hate to tell you, but that's what I was. I haven't been to every state in the continental U.S. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold back.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And that's because you nailed it with Alabama.
I wasn't gonna guess that one either. I was probably just gonna guess the middle one, the bouncer, to be different from Scott. But tell us about that.
So I actually ended up taking a job doing something I thought I would never do in my life, being a bouncer at the front door of a nightclub. Mostly because I had gotten injured on a job I had, and it took me forever to recover. And then no one wanted to hire me back then because they could ask you if you were injured in work. So the only place that would hire me was this nightclub to work the front door. I do love lifting weights, so it was okay. I mean, I'm not like the biggest guy on the planet, but scary enough, evidently. And what's really funny is at that nightclub, I had won countless dance contests when I was in high school, and I would see videos when I'd go inside of me dancing, and I would say to other people I work with, I was this little skinny kid, right, with Adidas with big fat laces, and I would say, hey, that's me. And they would say, no, it's not. And then I would do the move, and they would be like, oh my God, that's really you. And I was like, yeah, that's really me.
Is there like video footage of this? Like,
yeah.
I've been trying to get a hold of it, and I can't. So it was called the Palace. It held like 3,000 or 4,000 people. It's gone. It's off the face of the earth now. My friend who taught me how to play fantasy football was actually another bouncer at the nightclub.
Wow.
And I used to make fun of him for playing fantasy football, and look, here I am, like on a show with you guys now.
He got you game.
It had to be one of the best and one of the worst jobs I've ever had in my life, because you don't know how bad it is until you're breaking up a fight of like 300 people in a parking lot and pepper spray just rains down on you.
Oh my God! And you said it's not open anymore?
No, it's gone. It's like a Lowe's or something in the place where it used to be now.
Not like
the building's gone. Like everything's gone.
Okay.
Yeah. It had hit a point where there were a bunch of guys I worked with who were like giants, and they all quit, and then I quit, and then they had a lot of problems for a few years, and they ended up getting shut down after that. So if there's one thing, like the nightclub industry of like the 90s was, if you don't want to have problems, you just don't let the problems in. So it's like not easy to do, by the way. You just don't let the people who could potentially be a problem in. And when myself and the giants I worked with were all gone, the other people were like, oh, this guy's a problem, and they let him in, and then they had all kinds of problems, and they got shut down.
You were just holding it down, is what you were.
Yeah. Yeah.
You learn a lot of people skills that come in handy in the business world. By the way, people try to intimidate me sometimes, and it's very comical. I'm like, dude, I've had like knives pulled on me. You think you're gonna shoot me by raising your voice? Like, really?
Oh man. Well, if I ever go to the Fantasy Expo next year, and you go next year, I'm gonna walk around with you, and we can just I'll be like, I'm with Mike. I'm with Mike.
Yeah, that old guy. The old guy that's wearing like a suit jacket. Yeah, it's not that scary.
Are you going this year, Mike?
I'm not. I was gonna go. My actual real job has been crazy the past month or so, and I do a lot of things to help take care of my elderly parents. So I'm not gonna be able to pull it off this year. I wanted to go. I think I actually still have a hotel room I have to cancel as well, but yeah, I'm not gonna make it. Are you guys going?
I will be there. I'm actually presenting. I'm one of the exhibitors and the presenters this year, so I'm looking forward to it. 2 weeks. Yeah.
I wish I was going now.
No, next year. There's no way it won't be an every year thing at Wild Hogs. There's no way it won't be an every year thing now. So.
Well, I want to go this year, but just with the COVID situation, I'm a little bit apprehensive. And so instead, I'm doing a one-man mission to go visit Mr. Bo McBigtime. Shout out my partner in crime over at NimbleWnumbers.com. We're going to be hanging out, doing the Nimble Summit, just being brothers, getting to hang out with each other. We've never actually met in person, so lots of hugs, lots of dapping each other up, and but I'll miss everybody. And Jamie, we'll connect. We'll do a live stream or something where we get people on, because we want to connect with people while we're, back in his place with everybody at the summit, because it's going to be just a great time. So maybe Mike, you can jump on there too. We'll kind of just all be like, what's going on?
We'll both show us how he makes the sauce. I mean, my son loves it. It's
yeah.
Or more.
It's ridiculous, by the way. Bo, we are on the hot seat right now. So Jamie's got the next sizzling question for it, Bo. You're going to like this one.
All right, so you mentioned already, you guys were, we've all been playing DFS for a while. You guys mentioned that you went head-to-head. So do you remember who won your DFS head-to-head on the DFS money shot against Scott last year, Mike?
Oh, I remember. Yes, it was this guy.
Yes.
Bonus. Do you remember the score? You remember?
I don't remember the score, but I beat you with a player that you questioned me playing.
Who was that?
I played Cole Beasley. The Bills were playing the Giants. The Giants suck against the run, but the Bills don't run the ball. So ball control offense for the Bills was, as I said, would be like 10 to 12 passes, short passes to Cole Beasley, and I'm going to beat you with that. And Scott told me I was nuts, and sure enough, I beat him with that.
He did. He beat me 172 to 157. So all those.
You had somebody get hurt though, which hurt you bad.
And you know what? Listen. I looked at my DFS money shot record last year. 50-50. It was okay. I won some bigger head-to-heads against people for more money. So I lost some of the smaller ones, but won the bigger ones. Bo gave me the beat down, which was not the greatest. But you know what? At the end of the year, I gave Pete Overzet the beat down 3 straight times, and one of those times. It was 190. I had 190 points. He had 189.9. And I was like, this is insane. And then Jerry Jeudy caught a 97-yard touchdown, and I went away. But at one point, I was like, this is just so much fun. Like, I know we're sitting on our couches like, 1 point away. And so it is so much fun to play head-to-head. We'll all do it this year for sure. And I'll have you guys on the money shot. Maybe we'll do a little triumvirate since we'll run it back and make it a hot stove money shot combo, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's good. I like that. All right, here's a question I have for you. Now, this is a little process oriented, so it's a little bit, not spicy, maybe, revealing too many things here. But when you break down your process and you think about what you go through every year, we go through a ton of things to get ready for the fantasy season. From the day it ends until the day it begins, it's a long haul, right? What do you think is the most important, kind of the secret to your sauce when you really get down to it? That this is the bang for your buck that you're going to get. That you should kind of tell everybody you should do this too. It helps me so much.
So I love drafting. I think you know that because we both love best ball as well, right? I took a lot of heat recently because I said I hate Dynasty. I love DFS. I like redraft, and I love best ball. And Twitter's mostly a dynasty community. We need to change that, make it a bit more of a DFS community.
Agreed.
So yes, definitely, right? Like it's almost all dynasty.
Or redraft. I'm DFS plus redraft over dynasty.
I like redraft as well, and that's what I try to focus on. So I wrote an article, Scott. You saw it. I vowed to share it once a week right now, called it's about the adaptive draft strategy. And one of the things that I don't like that everybody does rankings, right? So I actually, when I'm going into a draft, I prepare my players in tiers. So that's something that I try to recommend for people to do, because if you're all caught up on just, I want to get this one guy, and I'm okay with that if you reach for him. But if you have one guy at every position, or I have to have these 3 wide receivers, you're not going to get them more than likely, right?
Right.
So if you lay your players out in tiers, and you understand your tier structure of how you value them, and you get one guy out of that tier when you wanted to get him, then you're winning.
Right.
Especially like in auction drafts, right? Like you just run the price up on the top two out of the 3 wide receivers, and then nobody wants to spend on the third one, and you're like, great, $10, he's mine, thank you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned in that article that I like is your perspective is not seasonal necessarily in this. You're looking week to week, like you talked about earlier with Aaron Rodgers, kind of how is this tier going to work in a season? So, yeah, you're doing season long, but you think week to week. And that is crucial, I think, for when you kind of are, best balling and DFSing. They're a little bit more about that, chasing that upside each week, which I really, really love. And redraft is great. I do a bunch of redraft, but yeah, best ball, I think I've got 85 teams, and then DFS, I already put in a bunch of stuff and a bunch of money in DraftKings because the prices are up. I was just like, honey, I dumped money in.
So you already maxed out those 50-cent and $1, 150 max GPPs.
I mean, won $5K last year on one of those for 50 cents. I'm going to play $75 worth every single week and just take moon shots. You know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so much fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like a lot of best ball, by the way, and obviously I think we all play on Underdog. I also play it on FanDuel quite a bit, and I play some best ball on Yahoo. I like those 3-person best balls on FanDuel a lot, right? Because I'm going to run up against some guy who's not watching the show right now, and some other guy who's never heard of this show right now, and then I'm just going to destroy them in my best ball draft, and I love that.
Yeah. Well, I just saw that Underdog opened up $100 12-man leagues. I'm putting one together, folks. If you want to get into a $100 12-man league with me on Underdog, I will gladly take your money in there for the big stake. So if you're in the comments, throw it in there. Let me know. Bo, I know you're going to be in because I'm going to take your money this year a bunch. It's called Redemption, son. It's called Redemption. So I'm excited about that. Okay, so
and if that's too rich for your blood, I'm about to start with part of my new my new role at Football Diehards. I'm going to be doing a bunch of the $3 and $5 ones as promos for Football Diehards over at Underdog too. So
sweet.
So if you want to get into those smaller ones, I'm happy to take your money there.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll take it in head-to-heads. We'll take it in 50-50s. Those are my favorite. $100 50-50. I won like 10 of those last year. I lost like 4 of them. I love that. That's just that's $100 that I'm taking half the field. It's awesome. It's so exciting. I'm sorry. I'm
It always feels good, right? Nobody likes to lose. Everybody likes to win, but it feels even better when you take the money.
And it's coming. We're getting into that redraft season too. So on that note, Mike, who, if you said you're big into redraft as well, and even best ball, if you're kind of basing it off of current ADPs now, who is one player you're willing to reach for, maybe above their ADP or their consensus ranking, and then also one player you'll be fading based on that?
Oh, good God, there's lots of guys that fade. So to stay on brand, never Mixon. All right, I'm fading him.
Oh Oh,
I don't
no.
want anything to do with Mixon, and it has nothing to do with his talent level. I do admit, though, this is a year. If he's going to have a big year, this is it, right? This is the year. But for some reason, the Bengals, I just don't trust them to utilize him properly. And so I'm fading him because I know people will draft him as if he's like a top 8 to top 10 running back, and I won't. So yeah, so I won't. And I mean, I think he's a running back 2, high-end running back 2, and he'll be gone before I would take him. So I will have 0 shares of Mixon. Typically, I'm also big on fading top-end quarterbacks. So, like, Mahomes, yeah, he's not on any of my teams ever, right? Like, just doesn't happen.
We're back on the same wavelength now.
Yeah, guys I would reach for this year. I actually wrote an article about a case for Kelsey. If I'm not getting one of the top 3 running backs, or who I might view as a top 3 to 5 running backs, I'll take Kelsey. I'll take him before any wide receivers, before any quarterbacks at all, and that has to do with the way the points drop off that are scored on the season. The top 3 tight ends were like 150 or something points higher than the 4th one, right? There was a little grouping where I think Kelsey had 35 more points on the season than Waller, and then a massive drop-off. So at wide receiver, the drop-off is really mild, right? So that tells you that, you've got this nice line with this nice steady drop-off. So that means lots of wide receivers, guys, right? So I won't reach for any wideouts either. But if in my redraft leagues, and in my, I'm in a couple of home leagues, I run one, and it's been going on for like 16 years. I want to win those, and people don't want me to win those. Nobody wants somebody else to win, but sometimes I can tell you they really don't want me to win because I do pretty well year in and year out. I'll reach for Kelsey early there and come back later on, probably second round with a running back, or if a top end wide receiver is still there, depending on how the draft's going, I'll go for someone there. I would also not hesitate to reach for Waller after that, just because of the scarcity in that position. I'm going to reach for those guys.
So funny you mentioned that too. I'm going to ask you to, if you can, off the top of your head, quantify that for a minute, because somebody, I think it was Matthew McCarthy, Methodical One on Twitter, who's a excellent fantasy mind. He asked the question. I think it was yesterday. He asked the question, how many running backs and wide receivers do you have ranked over Kelsey overall? And I said 6 running backs, no wide receivers. So we're pretty much on the same.
I'm pretty much with you. So where I have him going, if I was drafting, is 7, right? There's 6 running backs I'd be willing to take over him, and then I'm going 7th. Now in a home league, I might even take him a little earlier because I know I'm going to get some better running back come back to me, because some jackass is going to take Mahomes, right? In the first round.
Josh Allen.
And some other guy's going to panic and go, oh my God, then I need Aaron Rodgers because that guy took Mahomes, and I'm going to sit there typing in, what are you idiots doing? Why are you doing this? And then they'll make fun of me for something later. But I'm at the same place you are. That's literally how I wrote it up in that article I wrote about a case for Kelsey. I have him 7, and that's because I have 6 running backs ahead of him. My top 3 wide receivers, I think I had Hill, Diggs, Hill, and Adams, and that's a tier, right? As I talked about tiers earlier. I like Diggs to finish as the wide receiver 1. So if I missed on Kelsey and there's still a bunch of running backs available, I wouldn't hesitate to grab one of those guys early as well. I'd prefer to go running back if I don't get Kelsey, but I'm not afraid to group those guys with the top 2 groups of running backs.
Yeah, and I'm with you on Waller too. I'm pretty much right in step with what you're saying there, Jen. I'm with you on Waller. I in the Raz Bowl, I had the 101, and I took McCaffrey, and coming back, Waller was approaching, and you mentioned Mixon. Mixon is one of my favorites this year, and I was fully ready to take him at 212, but I was hoping Waller was going to come, and as much as I do love Mixon, I was going to take Waller there ahead of him at 212 if he'd made it, and he got sniped 2 before me. So Mixon and Swift it was at 212 and 301.
That's not bad at all. Yeah, that's not bad at all.
No, I have to weigh in, Mike, as well on the Mixon issue. I don't hate Mixon. I'm just not drafting him in the second round. Like, I want somebody else in the second round.
I won't either.
And because he doesn't get out of the mid-second rounds, he's not coming to me in the 301 or if I get the 302. So that's more of my issue is I'm just not getting him. I'd rather take Najee Harris. I'd rather take Antonio Gibson. I'd rather take Jones, Aaron Jones. There's a bunch of different running backs I'd rather have. And so it doesn't work for me. So I'll let other people take those players, and I'm good. All right. So speaking of players that we've taken over the years, I'm wondering, you work for the Undroppables, and we'll get into a little bit more kind of how you kind of got there and where your story started in a little bit. But who's a player that you regret dropping over the years? I'll give you mine real quick. Randall Cobb, the year he broke out, I had him the first 3 weeks. He did good. Then he sucked. I dropped him. My best friend picked him up and then went on like a championship winning streak. Won like two or three in a row. Mike Collins over there at the Fantasy Millionaires with me just stung my heart, like crushed my soul. I'd been early on Cobb and then bailed, and it just stung me forever. And he brings it up, regularly. I would have won the championship if I hadn't done that. All that kind of good stuff. So, how about you though? Who's a player that you remember? You're just like, damn it, I dropped that guy.
Well, I probably do it every year because I work the waiver wire really hard. I'm fairly good at it. Like I get a lot of hits off the wire, which help me. But I'll give you one from last year. This guy plays for the Vikings. He was a rookie wide receiver.
I knew this was coming.
I added him off the waiver wire to start with, right? Because it's a 10-team league and there's only 5 bench spots, so there's plenty of people on the wire. I had Adam Thielen, so I add Jefferson. 1, 2, 3 awesome weeks. I'm like, yeah, this was a great move. Then he kind of had a week, and then he had a bad week. And I said, oh, well, he's rookie. He's inconsistent. It's a bye week. I have to drop somebey. I'll just drop Jefferson. One of the other guys in my league was like, Stimpy, you idiot. Picked him up as quick as he could, and he continued to produce all season long. And I was like, but I lost in the championship, so I'm not going to complain. My team was still really good, but it hurt. Like it really hurt. It especially hurts when somebody says something like, "Hey, dude, don't you read a fantasy article?"
Yeah. Somebody in my home league chat, we got it going again because we're gonna do a little draft. Order. We're gonna pick the order of our draft, and so we're just kind of getting the draft chat back up in the text. And somebody hashtag me nimble with losing because they beat me like a year.
I'm sure I'll get how I'm adaptive at
right.
Losing this year. Right?
Right. It's just anything to stick it to somebody, which I do like. But thank you. I think that's great. Okay. So that was a long hot seat, but that's okay. Sometimes the hot seat goes longer. The next thing we're going to do though is kind of more about you and the Undroppables. And so I'm interested. I know Jamie's interested as well, kind of how you got started and kind of where you came from.
All right. So I actually joined Twitter to follow fantasy advice and get better at playing fantasy. Originally, I joined in like 2014. And there's some guys that I've been following and interacting with for a long time. Andy Behrens, Michael Salfino, Eric Moody. Some of these guys, like I remember when Mike Taglieri had like 4,000 followers, like I was interacting with him a lot back then. And when Scott Barrett had like 3,000 followers, I'm going back here with some of these people, right? So, and I did it more to learn to get better because I wanted to win my leagues and I was looking for an edge. And I went away and I came back 2 years ago and I started looking at content people were producing outside of like some of the big names and even some of the big names. And I thought, hey, maybe I should start throwing out what I do out here on Twitter as well, because I win a lot. So why not? And I disagree with some of these guys with some of their takes throughout the season. So I did. And I started mid-season, not last season, but the season before. I started putting out my money makers and heartbreakers in a thread. Might have been around the time I met you, Scott, right? Like right around... it was like mid-season, like week 8, I started doing that because I was like, hey, I keep kicking ass in DFS, and I'm doing great with picking up and who to play. So I answer all these questions on Twitter. So I created a thread, just moneymakers and heartbreakers. And then the undroppables were just starting out and also mid-season. And and Nick Chalk and Term had come to me and said, you know, we love your moneymakers and heartbreakers. Obviously, there's research you do behind this because you hit a lot, right? With this, like, we're following you and you're hitting a lot. Write an article. We want to see what you can write. So I wrote an article, and everybody's young except for me. I'm like the old man of the group, other than Mark from Verdi and Global. He's the only one even close to my age, right? So last season, I'll admit, I was picking on people in the undroppables in our private chats and stuff where I would say stuff. You guys all want to be like doing this for a living, professionals. Treat it like a job. God damn it, treat it like a job. I treat it like a job. Treat it like a job. And they all were like, hey, we really could do this for a living. Yeah, just treat it like a job. Now they all treat it like a job. And, you know, we're coming back again this season stronger than ever. We have a lot of, our team's big. We have like 23 people, I think. And I don't participate in a lot of the off-season stuff because I have a company I run. I had mentioned it, Outcons, consulting company that I formed 7 years ago. And we have 50 employees, and we're a small global boutique firm. So I haven't had time to participate in off-season stuff. Not too much of it anyways. But I'll do my usual stuff during the week, all season long, dedicated to it. So it'll be out there. But yeah, so they gave me a shot. Here I am, still writing the same stuff. I answer an awful lot of questions on Twitter. I've actually had a few people who are relatively big names say things to me like, you only have like 3,000 followers? Right. You're answering all these questions all the time. That's all you have? I'm like, yeah, I know, but people keep asking because I keep answering. So,
yeah,
you know.
You're answering right. I think that's I mean,
yes. Every once in a while, man, I get somebody like, you ruined my season. I lost so much money because of you. You know, it happens. But what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I've done that to myself many times too. So, I can live with that's the thing I love about it. I'll listen to everybody. I'll read your articles. I'll listen to Jamie. I'll read Bo. I'll listen to Pete Davidson, Scott Barrett, Fantasy Point, everybody, Sal Betry. I'll just be a sponge. So then I can blame myself because I vetted everything. I did my own research, and then I brought it to the table, and I said, where's this? And then I sussed it all out and went different ways. But ultimately, it's me. It's my ownership. It's what I decide to do. And so that's what's cool about all you guys is you just have so much information and knowledge to bring, which is really cool. Speaking of that, you started this last year, which I loved. I watched you do this last year, where you did daily polls, just continuously asking people on Twitter, what do you think about these picks? Who are you picking? And you go down the list from, pick 101, on and on. And I love it. And so it's kind of Twitter ADP versus, kind of the fantasy community or the consensus ADP. Unpack that a little bit and tell us kind of what that's been like and what you've kind of seen in that. So
last year I did it because selfish reasons, right? I actually wanted to have Twitter help me prepare for my drafts, right? So selfish reasons. I'm like, we have all these smart people who know so much about fantasy out here on Twitter. And I mean, like a lot. And some of them are really well-known people and some of them aren't. And by putting the polls out there and by having people with like lots of followers share my polls, which I appreciate, it helps me try to figure out where the fantasy community is at and where their advice is going to be. Because when I first did it, I was like, because the guys I'm drafting against, they're going to be reading these guys' articles and taking their advice. And lo and behold, one of my leagues, they all started reading my articles and it started changing how they work the waiver wire, which hurt me. But, it was to help me to prepare for the draft, right? And I didn't do a good job last season of posting the results. I did it in the thread. This year I decided to do it with what you're showing right now. And one thing I learned is that Twitter is we are all disciples of late round QB. Like overall, Patrick Mahomes, like ADP on Yahoo is relatively high. It's like 13, right? And Twitter is like, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you even putting him up there? No, we're not. Don't even include him anymore. We don't want him yet. So, it just seems like the more educated fantasy player is definitely a late round QB guy and definitely a load up on running backs early type of guy.
Yeah, and like if you ever do the Yahoo mocks, they're so accessible and they're so easy to do. I have such a hard time taking any of them seriously because I just know that's not going to happen in the drafts that I do when Mahomes goes 8th, 9th. Like, it's not going to happen. I don't, I can't trust who I'm getting at whatever picks I'm getting at because I know Mahomes is not going to be one of those early guys taken.
Yeah, no. And the league I run, my home league that I run, every single guy who plays in the league has won multiple leagues outside of it. And that's why I invited them. I wanted a real competitive league to play in. And, one guy that joined the league said to me once, dude, we did an online draft. We were done in 45 minutes. What am I, playing with a bunch of pros? I said, actually, yeah, you pretty much are. These guys are all here to take your money. That's what they're here for. Right? Like, so if you don't know who the starting running back is after they just changed their order in the lineup on some team, you're screwed, right? Like, you're just screwed.
Yeah.
But yeah, Patrick Mahomes just lied in that Twitter versus ADP.
Yeah,
he's not even going to be a top 24 pick. I think I like it too. I wouldn't pick him.
I'm looking at my draft board in the Raz Bowl right now, which is, kind of that community of everybody, and he went 304. So, that
sounds about right.
Yeah.
The way I see it, when anybody ever does this, when they reach for anybody who I am against or I'm not going to be drafting, it's just pushing value to me. Like, I'm just like, oh, you're pushing it to me. I can get a bigger cupcake now. Oh, thank you. So I love that. I love the idiocy that comes out in home league drafts. And, we get a couple of drunks who come to the BFFs, the best friends forever, or the barely Facebook friends, whichever one you want to go with, who they tips it back, and so I can't wait for those just wild picks that are going to come. It makes me so happy. I get so excited to see it. So I digress.
Somebody picks a kicker in the 3rd round because, they wanted that kicker so bad. Yeah.
Defense in the 8th. You're just like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
Like, done. I got my whole team. My team's better than yours. Start it out. You're like, oh, okay. I do want to say that section, all about the undroppables, was brought to you by Fan Team Advice. Please go check out all the DFS tools that they have at Fan Team Advice. Sign up for the content, the packages. You get my man Jamie Calandro, who is a proven winner. You're sitting with 3 winners here. No losers, right? So that's our policy. No losing. We all won lots of money last year. So please go check out Fan Team Advice. Subscribe. Jamie, are you the president right now of Fan Team Advice? Am I seeing that correctly? Are you El Presidente?
President of operations, yes.
Oh, El Presidente.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you. I must say, I love that. So do check that out. And then we're going to jump now to DFS because that's what that's what we love. That's our baby, our love. And this section is brought to you by runthesims.com. Go check out Run the Sims. If you love DFS, this is perfect for you. You can run 10,000 simulations in 30 seconds. That gives you data, gives you information on where you can kind of move your money around, who you can value. I'm not somebody who's ever used this type of software before. I'm more of like a field guy with Bo, looking at matchups, game script. So if I can put all this together, oh man, it's really cool. I know that I'm going to make so much money this year from using Run the Sims tools. So please go check that out. And here's what I want to know. DK prices are out. We're going to show them in just a second. I'm going to get them up here on my screen. I want to know
Christmas in July.
I want to start with
you. I love that they're out this early. This is great.
It's ridiculous. DraftKings just wants us to talk about them. Like, that's the only reason that they did this, is they know we talk about it. What's your initial reaction? QBs, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, whatever you want. It's all the floor is yours.
Yours is in mine or in Jamie's? Whose floor is
yours? You're up. You're first. You get to go.
You go.
All right. So week 1, right? One of the things that I often look at is early weeks in the NFL season. It's good to go with guys that are pretty standard and you trust versus people who might break out because you don't really know how some things are going to pan out, right? So it's kind of hard. Like like I can't lie. As an analyst, I struggle with ranking players the first week of the season overall, where outside of the top guys, because you just don't know how the offense is going to flow yet, or how some team's defense is going to be that wasn't so good last year that might end up excellent this year. So, I'm actually for stacking somebody like Russell Wilson week 1. He's going up against Indianapolis. They were 29th against the pass last year. So, put in like a Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett stack there. I think that also gives you a lot of money. You could even go DK if you wanted to do a triple stack week 1. And then, it makes it a little easier to build out the rest of your lineup.
So are you primarily a cash or GPP player? Do you mix them up? What's your basic breakdown for DFS?
I'm primarily a cash player.
Okay. Same as me. It generally winds up being, I'll throw a few in those, the never really the millionaire, the $27, $40, $50 single entries. Even though they put the glitz and glitter out there with the.
I've had a few times where I wish I played the Millie Maker and kicked myself when I saw what I would have won if I had played. I play in a DFS league as well on. I think that one's on FanDuel, not on DraftKings, but I play on both apps. And we have like 15 to 20 guys in it, and I would say 6 guys are always the same 6 guys winning money, and I sit there and wonder why the rest of the guys even play. Like, you should all quit. Like, you're not even competing with the top 6 guys. You should just quit.
They need fish. We need fish, Mike. The fish.
I wouldn't really tell them that, Scott. I wouldn't really tell them that. I'm too happy to get paid every week.
Every league needs a taco or 14 of them.
Right. All right. Well, speaking of tacos, we need some running backs because this is going to be a $5 million. I think it's 1.25 million entries. I don't know. This could win us some money. We'll leave it and just throw it out into the ether. I like our stack. We got Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Jamie. I'm going to give you the running back. You can even take Joe Mixon. I was
going to say, here comes Mixon.
I don't mind him. He's got a good matchup. So 2 running backs for you, good sir.
Okay, so here's the problem. I've been looking at these the last couple of days. If we're talking cash, here's the problem I have with Mixon as far as this goes. Right now, the Bengals stack is looking like it's going to be one of my favorites with how cheap Burrow and the 3 Cincinnati receivers are thus far. So I'm okay with
that as well.
Yeah. So I'm okay letting Mixon go. One running back that really stands out to me as underpriced is Aaron Jones. I know that New Orleans was one of the top rushing defenses last year, but the offensive efficiency with Aaron Rodgers for sure back in the fold, and Jamal Williams gone, always a thorn in Aaron Jones's side. I don't know how they're going to utilize AJ Dillon yet this year. But I really do look and see that $6,800 price tag as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th highest price running back is, I think, too low for him. So, if the season was starting right now and I'm making a cash lineup, Jones looks like a lock there. And then, I'm pretty much on the same lines as what Mike was saying. This first week, I want to trust the studs that I know I'm going to get out of them, and they're going to be easy to fit because there's going to be players that are just mispriced after camps go out. You're going to find like those $3,000 players or the $2,900 tight ends. I won't say the name there, the one I saw right off the bat as a $2,900 tight end. But I'm looking at Chubb. I'm looking at Chubb at $7,200. He is the epitome of safety for a cash floor running back. Kansas City was gutted against the run last year. He is a little game script dependent, and Kansas City is scary with that. But $7,200 for him and $6,800 for Jones sounds mighty nice.
No, I like both of those plays, and I also like to chase way underpriced rookie wide receiver. So the opposite of what Mike was saying. One person that I am definitely going to chase is going to be Elijah Moore, and he is $3,000 this week. I do not understand, or this I guess in a month, this week one. I don't understand if they do not know who Elijah Moore is. That's just insanity to me. I can't. I know one play gets this dude 20 points. You know what I mean? 18 points. This guy is a bottle rocket ready to go off. I can't not put him in. You know what I mean? This is
he's so cheap too, just so cheap. I like that there. I mean, they have a lot of branches on that passing tree with the Jets, but Elijah Moore is pretty explosive. And at his price, I like what you're saying, Scott, with that. Even though we don't know how anything's going to turn out, that could be your home run hit, right? Like that just sends you over the top, and it allows you to spend elsewhere on this team. So I like that.
I'm also a fan of his $3,000 rookie opponent in that game, Terrace Marshall.
Oh yes.
You know, we know how much Darnold favors the slot receivers, and he's also 3,000 going against the Jets passing defense, which really shouldn't be good. So I'm a fan of that. Thank you, Bo. Bo's on my side as well.
I love it.
Bo's usually on my side too. I like how
well, Bo chided me for being a yes man. He said, "Do you get paid for every time you say you agree?" Basically with Mike. And I don't, but I should, because I do agree with him, and it's not selling out, Bo. Like, I just think we're simpatico, and you can see it with Jamie and Mike have been simpatico as well. So, and then Bo's been simpatico. We're all we're drinking from the same trough a little bit, like you said.
Jamie literally picked the two running backs I would have picked. After what you asked me to play, because I think Aaron Jones can go, all Al Bundy at any time on any team, right? 4 touchdowns in one game,
right?
And Nick Chubb, is he just getting disrespected daily by the fantasy community? Is that something I see? Like, I don't comment on it because I don't really care to fight with people, but I'm like, do you just not understand how good Nick Chubb is? Like,
yeah, I don't think they do. Now, the only issue is if he's not going to catch passes, but maybe he can catch a couple passes for us. Maybe we'll get a pass or two.
He doesn't need to, though. He's like Derrick Henry. There's nothing wrong with playing Derrick Henry every week in full PPR if the matchup and the price is right. I mean, it's money in the bank as far as the floor goes.
Yeah.
I mean, look what he did last year. Look what Chubb did last year, in missing 4 games. Hunt was there the whole season. Like, it doesn't matter. He's a top 3. He has top 3 running back upside.
Yeah.
And one of the safest floors of any running back.
Now, here's the thing. I threw a cheap defense in. I put the Bills in here at 2,500. Defenses are not the best to chase. Last year, I learned you punt a lot of times on defense. You go low. We could go even lower and move down further if you want to try to get in Travis Kelce into this lineup. We just need $200. I don't want to get rid of anybody here. I love everybody who's on the field. The Bills, though, could be moved. What do you guys think about a low price defense that you're willing to kind of eat some dirt on, I guess?
I have to admit, I didn't look at the defenses prior to this yet. So
I didn't either, by the way. So I'm guilty as well. I would be okay with the Bills also. I mean, they're playing Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to score. So, it's.
What about is it Miami down there? No, it's not. I'm trying to figure out who's down there. Yeah, there's no one down there that can kind of give you that juice for the squeeze. Is there?
So the problem is we need less 200. I mean, the Falcons are 2,000. They're home against Jalen Hurts, and it's
there
are worse.
There are worse. I think you're right. There are worse.
There are worse.
Not many, but there are worse. If you go back last year. -1, 5, 2, 4, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 0, 0, -1. Well, you know what? That's fine. They're going to not do this this year. They're going to do better this year. We have faith in them, and then that gives us all the money we need here to smash Travis Kelce, and then we still have some money left over. We still have $300. So I'll give you one more chance to see if there's any defenses you want to upgrade. The last one we can get, if we get rid of the Falcons. Yeah. I mean, it might be the Falcons. Browns, no, I can't do the Browns. Titans,
The one thing I will bring up, if we wanted to go another way, is that Adam Troutman is 2,900.
Who do we want to get rid of here?
Michael Thomas isn't playing, and Troutman is very inexpensive.
And Troutman's 2,900.
Yeah.
Do we want to do a double stack tight end, or do we want to get rid of our tight end and then pay up for somebody else in the wide receiver department?
I mean, I would get rid of the tight end and the flex.
I would.
That's me.
I would go with the less expensive tight end in this case because of just what we know in regards to what that team has to throw the ball to someone, right?
Yeah.
I know they're planning on running the ball a lot there, right? So Kamara and Mari are guys that we're going to want to watch through the first couple of weeks to see how this is panning out. But someone has to catch the ball there.
Yeah.
So,
do you think this signing of Devontae Freeman is significant, Mike? I mean, are they going to try Kamara like primarily out of the slot? It's so much to unpack with this.
It's how much does Freeman have left in the tank? I mean, that's the case, right? Like he hasn't looked that great on the field the last times I've seen him on the field, and he hasn't produced tremendously well either. I think he's their third stringer. I actually think they're going to run a lot with Murray. That's why I say let's pay attention to what happens in the preseason. I think you're going to see Murray run the ball a lot, and Kamara might take that slot role with Murray. Those guys are going to be on the field a lot together, I think. And the roles are, one guy catches the ball better, one guy's huge. So
right.
Murray may be a guy you might want to target later in drafts right now. I don't even know if he's getting drafted in most places at all. I don't think he got drafted in Scott Fishbowl in my division. So, somebody to look at late. Well, we didn't know Michael Thomas was going to be out at the time, right? So,
yeah.
Freeman's someone I'll pay attention to, but I'm not worried about him hurting either one of those other guys.
Not at all. So I put Tyreek Hill in after we do that little voodoo magic and moved him around. I can put Calvin Ridley in if you want to do a Calvin Ridley over Tyreek Hill, or we can keep Tyreek Hill in because it's Tyreek Hill. So we still have a piece of the Chiefs offense against the Browns, or we could fade that and say the Browns are improved and they check him and they let Kelsey run wild. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think?
Where did Ayuk come from?
Oh,
he plugged him in while we were talking.
Okay. We're speaking Ayuk in him. Okay.
Here's the thing about Ayuk in here, and this is really dependent on what happens at quarterback. I love him, and Matt Harmon does too. From a perception perspective, this guy is a freak. He's better than every other player on the team, and he and I both agree after looking at a lot of film myself, maybe 7 minutes, 6 minutes, I don't know, 5 minutes of it. I like him a lot. So I'm shooting for the moon here, hoping that he has a tremendous game against the worst team, the single worst team. Oh, wait, Houston's here too. Detroit and Houston, the toilet bowl of the NFL if they play this year. Detroit's terrible. So I think that is a big boon for me. But we can go anybody else here as well. So what do you guys think?
Well, you're good. I mean, you didn't get to pick anybody. You kind of we're playing host here and bouncing it off of us. So,
yeah. What do you think with Hill versus Ridley for us, Scott? Tell us what you think about those.
Well,
those two guys.
I mean, Philadelphia was terrible last year against the pass. They gave up yards for days. I don't know if they're going to be improved. I know Calvin Ridley is my fourth ranked wide receiver, maybe third. No, he's fourth for me. So I have him really ranked up really high this year. I love him. At all times, and I think he is, every week has potential to get you 30 points. So, but so is Tyreek Hill. So it's a coin flip. If we did get Ridley, we would save $300, and then we could upgrade from Ayuk to somebody at the 6,000 range. So Jarvis Landry, Debo. I mean, I think that's you're picking one or the other. We could go Shark. And Claypool's around too, but we picked the Bills defense. So I don't like to hedge my receivers against my defense necessarily.
I could be good either way. By the way, I would throw them when I talked about tiers. I would this week one, I would probably throw them in the same tier because Cleveland wasn't very good against the pass as well.
Mm-hmm.
The thing we know about Hill and Ridley, there's two things we know right from sample sizes. Hill's is a lot bigger than Ridley's without Jones, but Hill's passing tree, let's face it, with Kansas City, it's Kelsey and Hill and everybody else, right? So Hill's going to get his. But without Jones, Ridley's numbers, I think he averaged 5 fantasy points more a game once when Julio Jones wasn't in the lineup.
Yeah.
So, I like that play either way. I just don't know how we should spend the extra $300 if we go with Ridley,
Yeah. Anybody stand out for you, Jamie, that you want to buy up into that would we have gotten there with that 300?
No, not based off of what we're looking at right now. I mean, I like, you mentioned like Landry and Deebo Samuel, but I like the guys right below them better. Robbie Anderson and Claypool and Golladay and even Ayuk that you mentioned better than the guys above them anyway. So, no, I don't see any real big spend with going Ridley over Hill. So I'd probably just stick with Hill of the two.
We're going to book it. I have $5. If this turns into $1 million, I will share it. That's what I always said with Bo or whoever makes the team with me. We will share the winnings of this. I will enter that in there. And now, I feel good now. I can't wait to do like 1 million more of these all season long. So, okay, that was fun. Real quick question for you, Mike. When you do get your money makers and your heartbreakers and you get that going each week, like what is your process? And I don't want you to get into the whole 9 hours of it, but where do you start and how do you kind of get into it?
It's funny when you say the whole 9 hours. When people ask me how long it takes me to write, part of why I'm happy I do the waiver wire article is it helps me prep for the money makers and heartbreakers, right? And I probably spend 8 or 9 hours every week minimum on that article. I look at a lot of things, right? So I care an awful lot about target share for wide receivers, for instance, like a lot. Like people care more about snaps and who's coming based on snap counts. I like to see trends in target share changing. It lets me know who's going to be getting the ball a lot, right? And I tend to like players in small passing trees. You guys have heard me mention this like 3 or 4 times, so I guess it's obvious that I care about that, right? So, I actually reached out to Linda Lyons because we argued about something on Twitter, and I this week, if I have time, I'm going to start writing.
Was it kickers?
No, it was about too many mouths to feed, and I threw at them. Well, look at Tampa Bay, for instance. Once you added Gronk and Brown, now all of a sudden the guys who were fighting for the wide receiver 1 the season before, not to be a wide receiver 1, but back and forth, we were going between Evans and Godwin, looking like one of them would be the wide receiver 1. We added Brown and Gronk, and not that Gronk was all that productive, but Brown was for 5 straight games at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. And now you have 3 wide receiver 2s. Not 2 guys vying for top 3 wide receiver numbers, but you have 3 guys who are all wide receiver 2s. So, I look at that stuff and I try to figure it out. So, somebody you're going to see be a moneymaker often this season is probably going to be Antonio Brown. And if you're looking to go into redraft season with a guy to get relatively late, that's equally as valuable as Godwin or Evans, Antonio Brown, right? I have them all basically equal, but one has an ADP that's way over there.
Yeah.
And so, when we were talking about the dollar values, I look at that as well for who's a moneymaker versus who's a heartbreaker. I don't want to be paying up for a guy who's going against number 1 ranked defense, even if it's Kamara, right? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to look for guys that have easier matchups, and that I have a good understanding of what their offense is going to do in that easier matchup. So, I spend a lot of time around the touches on the offense, but I also spend a lot of time around what the defense stops and what they don't stop. And I write all of that in the article every week, by the way, for this is why I like this guy, right? He's going up against the the 28th ranked defense against wide receivers, and he's had an increase from 8% target share week 4 to 20% target share last week. They're going to give him the ball, and you're going to see that. And I mean, it helps me a lot playing DFS, to be honest, to look at it in that depth.
No, I love that, and that's being nimble with numbers. You're looking at the numbers. You're using the numbers to understand deeper into what the expectations for the player are. So,
I watch zero film. And I've had debates with the film watchers, and I'm like, look, guys, I'm not an NFL level coach, so I mean, I rely on Dan Orlovsky to look at the film for me, right? Dan explains what the play that was called was and how it should have worked, and I'm like, God damn it, Dan Orlovsky, I love you, but I can't do that like Dan can. Tommy Moe from the Undroppables was a D1 college football player. I can't analyze film like Tommy can.
Was he? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
For who?
I don't know where, Montana or someplace like that.
Oh, interesting.
I'll ask him. He'll get mad because I didn't know, by the way.
Maybe it's on his profile. We'll check.
It's somewhere out there. But like, he understands. But he'll tell you, if we don't know what play was called, and these people are trying to analyze this film on Twitter, they don't even know what the play call was. How can you say somebody made a mistake if you don't know what he's supposed to be doing?
Right.
So,
no, I love it. All right, so we got one last segment before we go. Burning questions 2021. We're going to hit you with a couple quick ones. This is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Please go and download the app. It's available in the Apple Play Store. It's in the Google, everywhere. You can go get it. Go play it. And put code name or promo code Nimble. Is Fan Team Advice got a code? I'm sure they've got a code. The Undroppables have a code. So use all those codes when you sign up, please. Here's my burning question. Where do you have Kyle Pitts projected to finish as a tight end this year? By the end of the season, he stays healthy, plays 17 games, whatever. Where is he finishing for you?
We talking about the guy with the biggest wingspan for a tight end ever? The guy who's lining up all over the field right now in the preseason for the Atlanta Falcons. His upside's easy, top 3, top 5 tight end on the season. I would draft him as if he's a top 10 without a doubt. People are reaching for him because of all the hype, and I think it's worthy for him, right? In the only dynasty league I play in, I drafted him with my first round draft pick. As I stated, I don't really love dynasty, but it's like easy top 10 tight end. I think his upside is top 3. He's probably worthy of his ADP, even though I won't take him there because I'll go with like Troutman, Gronk, and whatever if I can't get one of the other top guys later on.
Yeah.
But I like him a lot. I think he's going to be very productive. What I've been reading out of Atlanta is, he's really going into that Julio role more than he is the tight end role. So expect
which is good because his downside is if they make him a tight end, and God forbid he can't block, which tight ends need to do. He needs to be the Julio role to realize this upside that he has, I think.
Yes, agreed.
All right. So, and then of course the elephant in the room that we all need to know. Are you drafting Deshaun Watson this year? Yes,
I am. I actually just missed on him in a draft. He might still be out there in one I'm in right now, but he's available in the last round of the draft if you want him right now. And despite what anybody thinks, he's probably going to play, and he is Deshaun Watson. I mean, it's you're not talking about somebody who's not so good. In that you have to get him in the 5th round. We're talking about like a top 5 quarterback you can get for free at the end of the draft. Yeah, I'll draft him. Sure.
I took him in the Raz Bowl for the first time ever. This was based on like the recent news that he's in camp, and I'm not listening to any of this thing. Well, they're not they're not letting him do this. They're not letting him do that. Like if he's playing, I hedge my bet. I have Brady too. And it's a best ball. So, as long as I'm taking another couple of quarterbacks there, I'm fine.
And that Tom Brady, oh my God. I just don't know how he keeps playing.
The cyborg. Yeah, I know.
Oh my God! Right. All right. Well, that wraps it up for us. We did about an hour and 5 minutes. This has been perfect, Mike. You are officially the silver plateado, the silver fox of our group. So glad that you're here with us. We're gonna run it back later when we get the DFS money shot going. Might not be named that this year. We'll have to see. I'm trying to work with Underdog to see if we can kind of do something there with them, which would be great. And then it'd be the Underdog, whatever it is, we'd figure it out. So, but
sounds good to me.
Yeah, please check out Mike and all the work that he does over at the Undroppables, the Moneymaker, and the Heartbreakers. Yeah, you said you had other content as well coming out this year for Redraft, ADP, Twitter versus the Consensus ADP. I've seen that work out there as well. Please check out all of his stuff. Anything else you want to give a plug to there, Mike?
One other thing I do that people tend to like weekly anyways is I'll throw out all the numbers on Tuesday for who led the league in touches this week, who led the league in rushing yards, passing yards, and things like that. And I'll make sure I have that in a spreadsheet this year too to digest as we move on, because I found that data super helpful for DFS again as we move through the season.
Yeah. No, I love it. Jamie, any plugs you're going to do for fan team advice, my good man?
Yeah, our draft guides are selling like wildfire right now, which is really good. We made it operational a couple of weeks ago. News is being adjusted every time it comes, even if it's kind of inconclusive news, like, we didn't adjust any of the Colts rankings. We just kind of put notes on the players that just careful, watch and see what the Wentz situation is. If he is out, be prepared to downgrade all the Colts skill players and whatnot. I will be coming back with the game by game breakdown every week for DFS with the green, yellow, and red light plays for every game. And then on Football Diehards, I'll be having 2 DFS articles, 1 cash, 1 GPP per week, and 2 YouTube shows as well over there. So I'm looking forward to the football season and really getting down to it.
How do you balance this with teaching? Man, you're putting out a lot of content. I love it, by the way.
I do. Full disclosure, I made them block the firewall for me at school. So I do a lot of my work on lunch and prep. I don't have a social life. I just sit in my room alone and write.
That's going to be me this year. I cannot wait to actually do that too. That as a teacher, I have my block of time I have to work, and then the time I have for me, and I'm going to be doing that all the time as well. I'm going to learn from you, Jamie. I'll ask you how you got your team to unlock the firewall, because I got to ask them the same type of thing. I need a big bandwidth for what I'm going to be doing. So, but anyway, you can also check out all of us we mentioned before. Underdog, come play with us on Underdog. If you're in the Underdog street, you see a tournament, please jump in. Say Scott, say Mike, say Jamie. I want to play with you. Jump in. We'd love to play with you. We're out there on most days playing slow drafts, fast drafts, whatever it is. We're going to be out there. And if you want to be in that $100 league, hit me up on YouTube, on Twitter, however you're hearing this. I'm going to start a league. I know Bo's going to be in there. I'm going to be in there. Probably get Mike Collins to be in there. We got at least 3 dudes already. If you're ladies, we want to play with you as well. Jump in there. And do go check out Run the Sims. I love it. They have stuff for DFS, for fantasy, and then for wagers, for gambling. If you're a gambler like myself, they've got tools for that too. So check them out. And then follow me, Nimble W Numbers, on Twitter. Follow me as well at nimblewnumbers.com. That's where Bo McBig Time writes for me. And Mike, what you said last year, I actually created a quantified sheet that had the DraftKings, every points, touches, all those things that were on there each week, and I'll share with you. You'll love it. It just
excellent,
color coded, and look and see the patterns, and it really helped me look at the values for players and kind of see where the trends were from team to team, and then also in the league in general where the money was going each week. And so I love sharing that. It's all free. Just want people to have it out there to be able to use it and get their win on. Like we want people to win. That's why we're here, trying to help. We're not doing this just for millions of dollars. You know what I mean? We are. We want it. We want to win the millions. But we're doing it to help people win because we love everybody. So please do check that out. And I think that's it. I think this is like one of the best shows ever. So
Mike, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you on and you dropping some serious knowledge on everybody.
Thank you so much for having me. That's all I can say. I'm flattered when I get invited to come on a show. I think I always will be. And thanks for having me, guys. I deeply appreciate it.
You crushed it, man. And look out for Mike. He might be on some more podcasts this fall. This might not be the only time you hear his voice. Oh, and by the way, please go download on Apple and on Google and all the different places. download the Hot Stove, the FF Hot Stove. Fan Team Advice. We're there every week. We're almost at 1,000 downloads, which is great because we've only done like 6 or 7 shows. We're killing it as well. Pat on the back. And then I'm rocking a Fantasy Hustle shirt by my man Brian Drake. He is killing it. And I want you guys to shout out him. I love Brian Drake. He is hosting the Fantasy Sports through PFF show on Sirius XM. Shout out Brian Drake. Love that guy. And hopefully he can come on our show too in the near future. And next week, Jamie, we have your boy, Mr. Guillotine League himself.
Yep.
Paul Charchian is coming on. So don't miss any of that, folks. We're here to stay. I can't wait for this whole year, Jamie. You're the best. Mike, you're the best. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. I can't wait to hear that one. I suck at guillotine leagues.
Well, welcome this year. So, all right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.